All right, so for this part of the lesson, we're going to go over a little bit of tricks and just give you some hints and ideas on things. Here's the truth of the matter. We're used to inputting things for x and solving for y, but there's nothing that says you can't put in numbers for y and solve for x. And there's a method of which way you should choose. Okay, so let's say it says, would you choose to fix values for x or y? Explain. Well, I'm just going to kind of give you an example here. Let's say I decided I wanted to pick a value for x. For in this case, I put x as 1. Okay, and what I would do is I'm going to take this 1 and I'm going to input it in here for x. And so I'm going to say 2/5 times 1 plus y equals 11. Well, that's just 2/5 plus y equals 11. And we're going to deal with this idea of fractions. I'm going to give you a hint about that in a second. But if I put a 1 in, this just becomes a one-step equation. I'm going to subtract 2/5 from each side. Excuse me. That cancels. I'm left with y equals. Now, if I have 11 and I take away 2/5, you could do the math off to the side. But basically, I'd be left with 10 and 3/5 because I'm taking 2 away. All right, so I know we don't like fractions, but that's just an easy one-step equation. But I could also choose to plug in numbers for y. There's nothing that says we can't. So let's say I chose, instead of putting a 1 in for x, I chose to put a 1 in for y. So I'm going to take this 1 and I'm going to plug it right here for y. And I'm going to say, okay, 2/5 times x plus 1 equals 11. Okay, not too bad, but I am going to have to subtract a 1 from each side, and I'm going to bring down my 2x to the 5th. That cancels out. 11 minus 1 is 10. Now I need to divide both sides by 2/5, which I can absolutely do. And remember, dividing by a fraction is the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. That works out to be 50 over 2, or just 25. I think I did that right. Nothing wrong with this. We knew how to do any of this, but this was a two-step equation. So a lot of times, if you have a variable all by itself, that's the one you want to solve for, okay? Meaning, if I put values in for x, it's always going to be a one-step equation. Once we multiply here, it's going to be a one-step equation. Okay, so you can keep that in mind. But are there specific numbers that would make your computational work? So that computation is just the adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. Is there numbers that would make that easier? Yes, absolutely. And please, 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 and this is how I will know if you watch the videos or not, because people always struggle when they get to this one because they don't take this hint, usually because they don't listen. Are there specific numbers that would make your work easier? Yes. Use multiples of the denominator. So when you are dealing with an equation with a fraction, use multiples of the denominator because it's going to make the fraction go away. Okay, like I said, this is how I know when people don't watch videos, because they'll try to put a 1 in. Great, you can do it. We did it. Still dealing with fraction though. So right here, guys, please do this because it's actually going to make things easier for you. So let's look at this example using this hint. Multiples of the denominator. Our denominator here is 5. So what are multiples of 5? Well, 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 4 is 20. Still want to use 0. And I'll probably start with 0. -5, -10. Okay, those are all multiples of 10. So watch what happens after I get done with 0. So I'm going to start with 0 first because we always should have 0. This is x, right? Because we want to put it into the one that's not by itself. And I'm going to go 2/5 times 0 plus y equals 11. Well, anything times 0 is 0. So we know that's 11. Okay, now I'm going to start picking up some of these. There's nothing that says we have to use 1 or 2 or -1. We can use whatever we want. So I'm going to put a 5 in right now. And I'm going to go 2/5 times 5. And I can write it as 5 over 1 plus y equals 11. 5 goes into itself one time, 5 goes into itself one time. All of this just works out to be 2. So 2 plus what number equals 11? Okay, sorry, a little interruption there. 2 plus what number is 11? So if you know it's 9, okay, sorry, another little interruption there. If we don't know that this is 11, remember, you can always subtract, and you can see 11 minus 2 is 9. Here is the power of using multiple. Do you see how the fraction went away? Try it with 10. Plug a 10 in here. Go 2/5 times 10, and I'm going to write it as 10 over 1, plus y equals 11. Well, 2 and 2 have no common factors besides 1. 10 and 5 do, though. 5 goes into itself one time, 5 goes into 10 two times. Notice we have 1s on the bottom here, and go 2 times 2, which is 4, plus y equals 11. 4 plus what number equals 11? 7. All right, ladies and gentlemen, sorry, I don't know why my webcam is decided to stop working, but we'll just keep going with it. So many interruptions, but we are almost done. Okay, so the big purpose of this is that use one of the multiples of your denominator and your fraction is going to go away. So I know we're supposed to do 5, but I'm just going to cut out here. Let's plot these points. So this is the point 0, 11, 5, 9, and 10, 7. So 0, 11, 0, I'm going to go up to 11. Ooh, it's right off here. So we'll guesstimate it to be right there. 5, 9, so I'm going to go to the right 5 and up 9. And 10, 7. All right, and what we can see is that we can see this is forming a line. Big thing I want you to take away here is this part right here. Use multiples of the denominator because it's going to cause your fraction to cancel out, and then you won't have to worry about that anymore.